Okay.
So, how have you been since the last time we spoke?
Really good. Thank you. Busy, engaged,
Yes, yes.
lots of activities.
Uh,
Yeah. I think the last time we spoke was before New Year's, wasn't it?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. And good morning. Here in Kenya is still morning.
It's almost my bedtime.
Ah. It's kind of interesting how the world works. I normally don't get it. How comes when we are asleep, others are waking up, and when we are waking up, you see like you, it's time we're
Yes.
going to bed. It confuses me.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so when we last spoke, you were talking about the projects you are doing. Like I saw that you focus majorly on mental health,
Yes.
and which is a good thing because it it started as a pandemic, but now it's growing to be endemic. And if we don't talk about it, I think the solution won't be found. So I appreciate that you stand in the gap and to create that awareness. And maybe you just tell us more of mental health, the essence. How can one know that he is suffering from mental health? And what is mental health as a whole?
Okay. So from my perspective, okay, and in my experience and what I
Mm,
have been taught
mm,
is mental health
mm.
is our natural state.
Our natural state.
Is our natural state. We are resting or living in wellness. It's only our thinking
Mm,
that takes us away from our mental health.
mm,
So we have the ability to talk ourselves out of mental health. And so
mm,
I tell people, you
mm,
know, there's a lot of things that are going on in the world. There's a lot of things that are
mm,
going on with you physically, and there are
mm,
things that are going on mentally. But when you really truly understand who you are and that
mm,
you always have mental health in you,
mm,
that's your grounding, that's your base. That
mm,
the suffering that you're experiencing
mm,
is not necessary. It's it's optional.
mm,
And because we're always living or experiencing
mm,
life through the feelings of our thinking. So that our suffering comes from us thinking that our feelings
mm,
somehow are communicating back to us how the world is and how
mm,
broken we are. But my project is unbroken hero, because we're not broken. Everything that we
mm,
do, it works, it works perfectly. So
mm,
if we are in a thought created world, what I'm experiencing is really only my thinking.
mm,
When I'm suffering is
mm,
only from my doing, not from what is happening in the world. Because if it was really true that it was something outside of us that was causing
mm,
our suffering, really there
mm,
will be a lot more people suffering. But when
mm,
you look at places, um, like I come from the first responder world, kind of a thing. Like, you go to an accident scene and things like that. If everybody was going to be affected equally at an accident scene, you would see more
mm,
trouble. But everybody has a
mm,
different experience. Everybody has a different experience. So
mm,
it can't be the circumstances or the event that causes us the trouble. It has to be
mm,
something inside of us.
mm,
So when I understood that
mm,
my experiences are solely coming from the feelings of my thinking, in other words, it was thought being
mm,
projected out,
mm,
and that when I let go of the fear, insecurity, anxiety, depression, I
mm,
naturally fell back into a state of wellness because that's my default.
mm,
We were built perfectly, right? In the nature of God, right? We were built in his image.
mm,
We are perfect. It's
mm.
only our thinking that pulls us away from experiencing that.
Okay. So it's a decision and it's inbound, as in you have to say I'm mentally healthy, and they're not things that are around us like friends, food, peer pressure, or those are factors that can affect you mentally, that can bring about the mental health.
Well, there's no doubt about people need to eat, right?
Mm,
And
yes.
yeah, I mean, people say, well, what about people that are starving? Aren't they suffering? Well, yes, they're suffering,
Mm,
but that doesn't mean that they're in a bad mental state.
mm,
It just means they're hungry. You know,
mm,
when I and I don't want to pretend that I know exactly what's going on in places that have famine and can't seem to get their food to these to the children and things like that. But
mm,
some of the videos and things that I've seen, even
mm,
though they're hungry, I still see
mm,
smiles. I
mm,
still see smiles on people, children,
mm, mm,
and for me, that just means they're still mentally okay. Yes, they're hungry, and if we don't feed them, that will present a problem. But that doesn't
mm,
mean they're not mentally well. If you can
mm.
understand the difference what I'm making here.
Let me just cut you short. Can it be more defined like denial? Like you deny that maybe you are hungry, or you have just a mask
No, no, no,
that
no.
deep. Mm,
There's no denying that you're hungry.
mm,
Okay.
yes.
There's no denying that you're in in an area that's just had an earthquake happen.
Mm,
There's no denial that you're in an area where there's war going on.
mm,
It's only our thinking about those circumstances that causes
mm,
our trouble.
okay.
Okay. It's not the
Mm,
circumstance, it's just our thinking about the circumstances.
mm,
So I can look at a particular circumstance and
mm,
I could be a victim of those circumstances.
mm,
Or I can be
mm,
somebody that that inspires from those circumstances. I
yes.
can be
I
one that rises up, takes the baton and and
uh,
and charges forward and creates something um, to feed the people, let's say, or to rescue the people.
okay.
You, like I've been in major disasters, and
Yes.
every disaster that I've been to, when
Mm,
when it's safe to enter,
mm,
everybody, no matter who they are,
mm,
drops their thinking about what's going on, and they come together for one cause.
mm,
They come together to help each other out, to rescue
mm,
people, to make sure everybody's taken care of, to
mm,
make sure the children are taken care of. People bring food to help people to, and then it's only after things have
mm,
settled
mm,
we go back into our little worlds again.
mm,
So it's not the circumstances that cause any of the suffering.
mm,
Okay, and I'm not talking about physical suffering. I'm talking about mental suffering, right? It's the
mm,
thinking that we put into the
mm,
situation.
mm.
That's
And is there,
yeah. Sorry.
okay, any particular event that you can specifically describe how that happened? Like it was a tragedy, people came together, helped each other, then after it has calmed down, is there any particular one you can point to?
Well, like I mean, you can look at a lot of the news things, like when there's hurricanes or tornadoes. I know
Mm,
personally when I go to say automobile accidents and things like that, people
mm,
people at the time
mm, mm,
they take away their mask, they take away
mm,
all their personal thinking and focus
mm,
on helping people, right? it
mm,
doesn't it doesn't matter what's going on in front of them, whether there's lots of danger or some things are not, they ugly or whatever or tragic.
mm, mm,
People focus on helping, and,
mm,
and they do whatever they can do in that moment.
mm, mm,
Only after they've finished the call,
mm,
after they've gone away from the call, they
mm,
go back into their own personal thinking,
mm,
and that's when suffering usually happens.
mm,
They rethink the events, they rethink the memories,
mm,
and they just keep going over and over, and they play a game called "If I could have only done this, it might have
mm,
made a difference." And so they do a mental suffering from their
mm,
thinking,
mm.
but the event's over.
Oh, oh, and so it shouldn't there. Like I remember this particular event here in Kenya that happened. There was a terrorist attack at one of the malls, and
Mm-hmm.
people came together, as you said, and they rescued in 3 days.
Yeah.
But after that, even they donated blood. But after that, those victims they were being brought on TV. You see, there's those scars, they have those wounds still. There are
Yep.
those who are left orphaned. You see,
Yep.
and from the conversation they were saying is that it has not been easy. So, what should be done afterwards, and where should the pressure be put? Is it after or before? Should there be a follow-up? Like, how do we go about it to make sure that their mental state is all right?
Well, in an ideal world, we
Mm,
would we would teach our children that it's
mm,
okay to have feelings and experiences.
mm,
Right, like if I had a magic wand, I would teach children how their experiences are created, where their experiences come from, how to how to manage their feelings, not to be afraid of their feelings, because it's our fear of feelings that we think there's something wrong, that we have to do something about it. And so people
mm,
reach to drugs, they reach to alcohol, they reach to bad habits to get rid of a feeling.
mm,
The feelings are only telling you what you're thinking.
mm,
So if we taught that early and people
mm,
understood that, right?
mm,
Going forward in their adult life, they would they would naturally do better because they know that when they have a sad feeling, they don't
mm,
need to do anything about it. They understand where the feeling is coming from and they don't have to
mm,
medicate themselves and do stuff. Now, I'm a big advocate for support after a disaster, after something that's tragically happened. When there's a
mm,
trauma, you have to provide ongoing support. And that
mm,
basically, is going back into and helping them understand what is going
mm,
on and what is happening. Because
mm,
if at the time the event happened,
mm,
something very real happened with them and they
mm,
responded in a way that was perfect for that moment.
mm,
I know from a responder point, when I left a scene,
mm,
it was always something that I might have been able to do better.
mm,
That I might have saved somebody, if this was different.
mm,
All that does is causes more
mm,
it causes mental stress.
mm,
So, but if you have a support system to allow people
mm,
to walk that through, talk that through,
mm,
they don't have to carry that burden for the rest of their life.
mm,
So after natural disasters is really when you need to have the sort of called the debriefing, have the
mm,
support services there. And
mm,
and if it's strong and supportive there, you don't have
mm,
to worry about it so much a month down the road, 6 months, one
mm,
year down the road,
mm,
because you've sort of taken care of it from there.
mm. Okay. And I believe you are. I believe you are part of this support system. So, if I may ask, like, are there methods one needs to apply when dealing with such to ensure that the victim is completely healed and moves on with his life?
there's there's no technique.
Mm,
There's but there's um, when people understand that they're resting in wellness and peace all the
mm,
time,
mm,
and it's only their thinking that removes them from that space.
mm,
When they when they understand and experience that, when they release that thought, they naturally rest back in wellness.
mm,
It's hard. It's not an easy thing to do
mm,
that in the moment of crisis.
mm,
And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 days for
mm,
for people to sort of settle in. And so when they're settling in, they're
mm,
able to hear more.
mm,
So it's important is to really, what I call, like, um like, mud. If when you have a glass of water and there's silt in the water and you
mm,
stir the glass up, it makes the water
mm.
cloudy, doesn't it?
Yes.
If I stir it more, will that clear the water?
No.
No. What clears the water?
Settling it down. Stop staring it and it's settled down.
Stop stirring it.
Mm,
That's what has to happen after after an event
mm,
is that settling of, and that mud is the
mm,
extra thinking that is going on. So we need to settle that. When that is
mm,
settled,
mm,
you are now an open vessel. You can hear better. You have
mm,
clarity, and you're
mm,
open more to ideas and suggestions.
yes.
So it's important for any practitioner that goes
Mm,
into a disaster area to
mm,
understand where the patient is. Do
mm,
they need to settle the mud down? Do they need to settle, because you'll never help anybody at a
mm.
high level
Yes.
because they're not thinking. All they want to do is
Mm,
be safe. All they want to do is is they're so caught up in in the wheel of thinking so
mm,
rapidly.
mm,
Nothing seems real to them at that point.
mm.
So
Yes, yes, continue.
healing
Mm,
healing happens
mm,
immediately when that
mm,
water settles, when that mud settles,
mm,
because you're falling back into where you're well, right?
okay.
Your soul
Yes.
cannot be damaged.
Mm,
And that's where healing starts. Healing starts from inside out.
yes. Those are uh, words of healing. I was just listening to them, and actually, it has opened up my mind to uh, greater things of how to deal with stuff. And you see, healing comes from inside out, and that demonstration of water and silt, when you cite, it's true. It will continue not to be clear, but when it settles down, it is clear. Thank you very much for that demonstration. It's very handy. Uh, just a question here. I will just when I was looking at your profile, I read that this is what you said. There's really one problem with one cure. I would like you to kindly explain incorporating this with the project that you have of Unbroken Hero Project.
Well, it's pretty well exactly what we okay, so kind of in a lighthearted way,
Yes.
we are chronic overthinkers.
Mm,
We overthink everything.
mm,
We the one pro and that is the one problem. The one problem that we have is that we think,
mm,
but we have one mind and we're only
mm,
use it in one way.
mm,
We think it's the best way. We think
mm,
that we can solve our problems by thinking harder about our problems,
mm,
right? So we think we can solve our problems by analyzing them better.
mm,
But the problem with our intellect is
mm,
it's limited. It only knows what it knows.
mm, mm,
And what you know is just your memories. So we're constantly living and experiencing our memories over and over and over again. So, like,
mm,
so when I'm trying to solve a problem and I can't seem to come to a solution, I am stirring my cup of mud. That's what I'm doing.
mm,
Okay.
mm,
My overthinking is to, okay, I gotta work harder. I gotta think more,
mm,
and somehow I'm gonna solve that problem.
mm,
We innocently think that that's what we need to do. We're taught our education system teaches us to be better memorizers, better, recallers.
mm,
We honor people who can memorize more and answer questions. So we honor
mm,
intellects, we honor people that are intelligent, and that's okay. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being, smart and have a lot of information in you, but it's limited.
mm,
It's only
mm,
you only know what you know. You know how much you don't
mm,
know?
mm,
Like this is how much. What is it? What is what does it say in the Bible? Like a grain. The amount of knowledge I have is in a grain of sand. You
yeah,
know, and what I don't know, right, is all out there.
mm,
So when I let my mud settle,
mm,
I get to use the other side of my brain that accesses what I call the divine mind, which accesses the universal mind, accesses knowledge that I
yeah,
don't necessarily have. I don't intellectually know. So it's like
yeah,
it's the it's thoughts that come from out of the blue. They're thoughts that, oh,
mm,
like you have them in your head, and you wonder where they came from,
mm,
right? I don't know if you've I'm sure you've experienced something like that. You know,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
mm, mm,
They're not a thought that says you're no good, you're not good enough, you're not loved.
mm,
It's not that
mm,
voice,
mm,
right? It's a gentler
mm,
voice. It has no judgment. It's unconditional,
mm,
but it seems to have always the right answer at the right time.
mm,
So we're suffering from overthinking. We're
mm,
suffering from creating problems that really don't exist except in our head.
mm,
If you can't put a problem in a wheelbarrow, it's probably not a problem. I'm not sure if you're still there, but you disappeared on your video.
yeah, yeah,
Are you there? You kind of lost a little bit.
uh,
Okay.
yes.
Yep.
Sorry for that. Someone just called.
Oh, no problem.
Uh, uh, could we kindly wrap it up?
What's that?
Could we wrap it up?
Ooh, I couldn't quite hear.
Uh,
Sorry. Your audio wasn't too bad. I think you're maybe saying it too fast. I can hear you.
I'm saying
Yep.
there's uh, something just come up. I would like maybe we wrap it up and we we organize another engagement.
Sure.
We'll be doing like 30 minutes if possible.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
You have my calendar.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Just book another time.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll do that. And thank you for your time. And how